Seneca's unshakable mind, the Stoic path. In the philosophical dialogue between Seneca and his friend Serenus, we find a profound exploration of the Stoic ideal of an unshakable mind. Seneca, a sage in his own right, asserts that a wise man is impervious to harm. Serenus, skeptical, questions whether this means that no one would attempt to harm the wise. Seneca clarifies that attempts might be made, but they would be futile, as the wise man's elevated state renders him unreachable by such petty attacks. This concept is akin to an army of archers and catapults futilely trying to strike the gods. Their efforts, though ambitious, are ultimately in vain, as their arrows fall short of the heavens. Seneca's metaphor resonates deeply, especially when considering the Stoic belief in inner fortitude. He suggests that true strength lies in becoming invulnerable to the malice of others, a state of being where external negativity loses its power. However, Serenus counters this idea, proposing a world where no one wishes harm upon the wise. This idealistic view, while noble, is critiqued by Seneca as an unrealistic expectation of humanity. This dialogue echoes a famous Stoic quote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality," by Seneca himself. It highlights the Stoic principle that our reactions to events, rather than the events themselves, are within our control. This perspective is particularly relevant in today's world where offense is often taken over trivial matters. Seneca's wisdom suggests that striving for a completely inoffensive society is an impractical goal. Instead, the Stoic path encourages us to develop an unshakable mind, one that remains serene and undisturbed by external chaos, much like the gods who remain untouched by the arrows shot towards the sky. This Stoic resilience is not just a shield against harm, but a profound way to navigate the complexities of human interactions and the unpredictability of life. We can control our reactions. In a world where people often say or do things that can offend others, it's important to recognize that the power to be offended or not lies as much in the hands of the offended as it does in the offender. This concept is particularly relevant in the context of Serenus's dilemma, which highlights the futility of trying to control others' actions, especially their negative opinions. In today's digital age, with platforms like YouTube and social media, everyone has a voice, and this has led to a significant increase in the visibility of offensive language and opinions. It's a reality that, as long as humanity exists and values freedom of speech, there will always be those who express hurtful, offensive, or nonsensical views. The rise in the number of people who are offended and demand silence from others is noticeable. However, trying to silence those who offend us is an ineffective strategy, akin to carrying coal to Newcastle. Seneca, a prominent Stoic philosopher, repeatedly emphasized that the true power to avoid being offended lies within ourselves. The essence of this approach is not about defeating the offenders, but about becoming undefeatable by them. This strength and resilience are within our control as taught by Stoic philosophy. The key question then becomes, how do we achieve this state of being undefeatable? This content delves into Seneca's Stoicism, focusing on the journey to becoming truly undefeatable in the face of offensive words and actions. When we delve into the world of Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius often emerges as a familiar figure. His work, Meditations, is not only widely accessible but also deeply resonant, offering a window into his personal reflections and challenges. This blend of introspection and imperial responsibility shapes a compelling archetype, much like Epictetus, whose journey from slavery to freedom is equally inspiring. However, Seneca, another towering figure in Stoicism, presents a more intricate archetype. His life as a statesman, philosopher, and dramatist allowed him to influence various spheres, including literature, philosophy, and politics. While he never attained the imperial stature of Marcus Aurelius, his influence during the early years of Nero's reign was nearly as significant. Seneca's multifaceted life and his contributions to Stoicism offer a rich tapestry of lessons. His experiences, ranging from the corridors of power to the realms of intellectual discourse, provide a unique perspective on resilience and virtue. As Seneca himself said, "Life, if well lived, is long enough." This quote encapsulates the Stoic belief in living a life of purpose and meaning, regardless of its length or the roles one plays. In understanding Seneca's unshakable mind, we see a Stoic path marked by complexity and depth. His teachings encourage us to embrace our roles no matter how varied they may be, and to find strength in our reflections and actions. This narrative, woven with stories and metaphors, not only enlightens but also strengthens our belief in the Stoic philosophy, guiding men, especially those between 30 to 65, on a journey of self-discovery and resilience. Seneca's life and works. Seneca the Younger, born in ancient Cordoba, was the son of the renowned writer Seneca the Elder and Helvia, a woman from a distinguished family. While trained in rhetoric, Seneca found his true passion in philosophy. His journey took a dramatic turn when Emperor Claudius exiled him to Corsica for 8 years on charges of adultery. It was during this period of isolation that Seneca penned some of his most significant works, including a heartfelt consolation to his mother, delving deep into Stoic philosophy. Seneca's contributions to Stoicism weren't just limited to essays on topics like anger management, finding tranquility, and building inner strength. He also wrote insightful letters filled with Stoic wisdom in Latin, a choice that underscored his Roman literary aspirations, diverging from the then common practice of writing in Greek. In this video, we're going to delve into one of Seneca's key works, De Constantia Sapientis, or On the Firmness of the Wise Man. As a Stoic, Seneca aimed for a state of unshakable calm, a deep inner peace that remained undisturbed by external events, or at least affected as little as possible. But what exactly did Seneca mean by this state of unperturbedness? Was it about being an unfeeling stone, immune to the caprices of fate? Or did it involve a total detachment from everything around us, regardless of whether it's good or bad? In On the Firmness of the Wise Man, Seneca intricately describes how a sage, a person of wisdom and equanimity, would react in various scenarios. We'll explore these responses and the essence of being a tranquil, balanced individual in this video essay, breaking down Seneca's profound insights for a modern audience. How does one become undefeatable? To achieve an unshakable mind, as Seneca and his fellow Stoics propose, is to cultivate tranquility and resilience amidst life's external forces. This Stoic ideal champions internal fortitude, enabling one to remain unscathed by insults or physical assaults. It's a testament to the strength within, not a callous indifference to the world around us. Contrary to popular belief, Stoicism doesn't advocate for emotional numbness. Seneca, through his poignant letters, notably the heartfelt one to his mother, underscores that Stoics do experience emotions. They aren't lifeless statues, impervious to the world's happenings. In my book Stoicism for Inner Strength, I delve into the Stoic perspective on emotions, revealing how reason and emotion coexist, fostering a state of flourishing that is central to Stoic philosophy. Being unshakable, therefore, isn't synonymous with emotional detachment. It's about steering clear of what Stoics term passions, those irrational emotional responses triggered by external events. These could manifest as prolonged anger over an insult, excessive grief over a loss, or intense desires for external things or people. The absence of such passions paves the way for an unperturbed mind. From a Stoic viewpoint, true invincibility lies in one's imperturbability to external chaos. It means remaining unharmed in adversity, whether it's facing an insult, coping with a breakup, or enduring physical aggression. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This encapsulates the essence of being undefeatable, a steadfastness that no external force can undermine. Understanding the concept of injury. Insights from Seneca. In exploring the idea of what constitutes an injury, we delve into the philosophical insights of Seneca, particularly from his essay De Constantia Sapientis. The question arises, when do we truly consider ourselves injured? Is it in moments of physical harm, verbal insults, financial loss, or illness? Surprisingly, Seneca proposes a different perspective. He suggests that injury is not inherent in the actions done to us, whether they be insults or physical attacks. Instead, it lies in our response to these actions. This viewpoint shifts the focus from external events to internal resilience. Seneca's definition of a sage is not someone who is untouched by attempts of injury due to a secure and comfortable life. Rather, a sage is characterized by inner strength, the ability to remain unharmed regardless of external circumstances. He states, "In like manner, you may know that the wise man, if no injury hurts him, is of a higher type than if none is offered to him." This implies that true strength is demonstrated not in the absence of challenges, but in the capacity to remain unaffected by them. Consider the analogy of a wealthy individual, accustomed to a life of ease, suddenly facing adversity. Would their character be robust enough to thrive without their wealth? This scenario illustrates that true resilience and character strength are independent of external comforts. Seneca eloquently asserts, "The invulnerable is not that which is never struck, but that which is never wounded." This highlights the idea that invulnerability is not about avoiding challenges but about being unaffected by them. We cannot control the world's disposition towards us, but we can cultivate an inner fortitude that makes us less susceptible to misfortune. In conclusion, Seneca's teachings encourage us to rethink our understanding of injury. It's not about the external events we encounter, but how we internally process and respond to them. By developing inner strength and resilience, we can aspire to a state of invulnerability, where no external circumstance can truly injure us. How can develop the ability to become invulnerable? To develop an unshakable mind, akin to the Stoic philosophy espoused by Seneca, one must embrace patience and trust in reason. This approach is exemplified in various life scenarios, particularly through the lens of Seneca's teachings. Consider the story of Vatinius as narrated by Seneca. Vatinius, often ridiculed and despised, was a witty jester, impervious to shame. Despite having more enemies than ailments, his indifference to public opinion rendered him invulnerable to their scorn. This echoes the stance of Diogenes the Cynic, whose strength lay in his disregard for others' judgments. By detaching from worldly attachments, Diogenes ensured he had nothing to lose. In contemporary times, taking offense has become somewhat of a trend. People often publicly express their hurt over remarks, yet seldom delve into the reasons behind their reactions. While these expressions may stem from a desire to shape a better world, they often reflect personal expectations of how others should act. This is reminiscent of a Stoic quote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality," highlighting the self-inflicted nature of much of our distress. To cultivate a mind like Seneca's, one must learn to endure life's adversities with a blend of humor and detachment. It's about understanding that our reactions to external events, more than the events themselves, dictate our peace of mind. By adopting this Stoic mindset, we can navigate life's challenges with resilience and equanimity, much like Vatinius and Diogenes, who found strength in their indifference to societal judgments. How people often react negatively to insults. The philosopher Seneca from that era had some insightful thoughts on this matter. He noticed that people, even back then, would go to great lengths to avoid insults. He shared an example where slaves would rather endure physical punishment than face verbal insults, highlighting how deeply people detested being insulted. Seneca found this reaction to be unreasonable, viewing it as a sign of a fragile ego and an overly sensitive nature. He believed that words, unlike physical harm, cannot truly hurt us. Seneca proposed a logical way to deal with insults. He suggested that when insulted, one should consider whether the insult is deserved or not. If it is deserved, then it's not really an insult but more of a rightful observation or a form of justice. If it's undeserved, the person who is being unjust should feel ashamed, not the one being insulted. He further questioned the very nature of an insult. For instance, if someone mocks a visible trait like baldness, poor eyesight, or any physical characteristic, Seneca argued that it's not an insult but merely a statement of the obvious. To put it simply, Seneca's perspective is that if someone points out a truth about you, even if it's unflattering, it shouldn't be taken as an insult. It's just a fact. This approach encourages a more resilient and rational response to what we often perceive as insults. Imagine you're the target of an unfounded criticism or a hurtful remark. It stings, doesn't it? But pause for a moment and ponder. If the comment is baseless, why should it be considered an insult? It's mere gibberish, and the one who utters it should feel more embarrassed than you. Take, for instance, my own experience. I'm not particularly tall, and I've often been the butt of height-related jokes. Initially, these comments infuriated me. How could they mock me so? Moreover, mocking someone's height seems to be a socially accepted form of body shaming, adding a layer of injustice to the hurt. This feels blatantly unfair. Yet Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, would dismiss such grievances effortlessly. He'd likely say, "What harm is there in someone stating the obvious? You are short. It's a simple observation, albeit made by foolish individuals. Don't let their words unsettle you. Rise above them, and you transform from just a short man to a man of stature." This is a fictional interpretation of Seneca's perspective. Seneca believed that a truly wise person is impervious to insults. The moment he allows himself to be swayed by them, he becomes susceptible to harm. His sense of security would be shattered in the presence of others, vulnerable to their words which could wound or even destroy him. Insults would then become like arrows, piercing his peace of mind. His serenity would hinge on the moods of the rude and the uncouth, leaving him to hope in vain for their mercy. In such a state, he might as well detach himself from society altogether to avoid any potential hurt. Consider another quote from Epictetus, a renowned Stoic philosopher. "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This encapsulates the Stoic belief in the power of personal resilience and the importance of maintaining inner peace against external disturbances. By embracing this philosophy, one can navigate life's challenges with a calm and unshakable mind, much like the Stoics of ancient times. True strength lies in the mind, not in the absence of pain. The philosophy of Stoicism, as taught by Seneca, extends far beyond mere resilience to verbal insults. It encompasses a profound level of mental fortitude, enabling one to remain unshaken even in the face of physical harm. Seneca's teachings reveal that true injury is not about physical wounds but mental defeat. He famously said, "We do not deny that it is an unpleasant thing to be beaten or struck, or to lose one of our limbs, but we say that none of these things are injuries. We do not take away from them the feeling of pain, but the name of injury, which cannot be received while our virtue is unimpaired." This highlights that while our bodies may suffer, our minds can remain invincible. A wise person's capacity to endure suffering is a testament to their inner strength. Such a person does not let physical pain or the fear of it control them. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, beautifully encapsulated this idea, stating that even in chains, his free will remained untouched by Zeus himself. This level of detachment from physical pain is a challenging but admirable goal. Seneca's concept of being undefeatable extends to all aspects of life, not just physical or verbal abuse. He argues that a true sage remains steadfast regardless of the situation, whether it's enduring torture or facing personal heartbreak. Seneca believed in the boundless resilience of the human spirit, stating, "He who says that the wise man can bear this and cannot bear that, and restrains his magnanimity within certain limits, does wrong. For fortune overcomes us unless she is entirely overcome." Seneca recognized that feeling pain and sorrow is natural, even for the wise. However, the key lies in how one responds and recovers from such misfortunes. He advised allowing oneself to grieve, but then finding solace in reason and inner strength. For Seneca, trivial troubles were not even worth acknowledging, at most, warranting a laugh. Seneca's teachings on Stoicism offer a powerful perspective on life's challenges. They encourage us to cultivate a mindset where our mental fortitude remains unbroken, regardless of external circumstances. By embracing this philosophy, we can learn to face life's trials with grace and resilience, finding strength in our unyielding spirit. Overcoming the fear of death. In the profound teachings of Seneca, we are invited to confront what many deem the ultimate adversity, the inevitability of death. Seneca, with his Stoic wisdom, encourages us not just to accept death as an inescapable facet of existence, but to view it as the ultimate challenge to overcoming. His perspective is that mastering our fear of death empowers us to handle life's other trials with greater ease. Seneca eloquently asserts, "If we accept with an undisturbed and tranquil mind that greatest terror of all, beyond which the angry laws and the most cruel masters have nothing to threaten us with, in which fortune's dominion is contained, if we know that death is not an evil, and therefore is not an injury either, we shall much more easily endure the other things, such as losses, pains, disgraces, changes of abode, bereavements, and partings, which do not overwhelm the wise man, even if they all befall him at once. Much less does he grieve at them when they assail him separately." This quote encapsulates the essence of Stoic philosophy, emphasizing that understanding and accepting death diminishes the impact of life's lesser misfortunes. It's a reminder that the wise man, grounded in Stoic principles, remains unshaken even amidst a storm of challenges, be they losses, physical pain, social disgrace, relocation, the grief of losing loved ones, or the sorrow of separation. These tribulations, formidable as they may seem, are mere ripples compared to the vastness of death, and thus they are more easily endured. Seneca further illustrates this point by comparing the trials inflicted by fortune to those imposed by powerful individuals. He notes, "And if he bears the injuries of fortune calmly, how much more will he bear those of powerful men, whom he knows to be the hands of fortune?" This metaphor beautifully conveys the idea that once a man has conquered his fear of death, the trials imposed by others, even those in positions of power, become insignificant. He who fears death will never do anything worth of a man who is alive. This statement complements Seneca's teachings, underscoring the belief that a life lived in fear of death is a life half-lived. It encourages us to embrace life fully, with courage and resilience, knowing that our ultimate test is to face death with a calm and untroubled spirit. Seneca's teachings guide us to a deeper understanding of life's challenges, with the acceptance of death being the cornerstone of Stoic resilience. By internalizing this wisdom, we equip ourselves to face life's adversities with a steadier heart and a more unshakable mind. In the work on the shortness of life, Seneca reminds us of one of the most precious but often overlooked resources: time. Here are the 5 most essential ideas about his art of time management. 1. Treat time as a commodity. Seneca says, "People often strive to save their personal assets, but when it comes to time, they waste what should be limited." Seneca warns us not to regard time as an infinite resource, not to mention that it is the most precious and irreplaceable. Imagine you are walking down the street and see someone throwing money out of a car window. You would surely think this person has a problem. But you are wasting something much more valuable, every day: time. We do not know how much time we have, but it is certainly limited. Clearly, wasting time is crazier than wasting money, because money can be earned back. But time once gone is gone forever. Money and assets can increase or decrease depending on luck or effort, but time is fixed. Death lurks for those who waste time, those who underestimate its importance, because when used correctly, time becomes a lever. Conversely, when squandered without consideration, it becomes a constant and lingering regret. 2. Don't waste time preparing for life. According to Seneca, we all waste too much time preparing for life. He urges us to live for the present, for the very moment that is happening now. Happiness lies in the present, not the future. So don't delay it. He criticizes those who think they just need to work hard until about 60 and then enjoy the pleasures of old age. How can that be? The future is uncertain and uncontrollable. An accident or unexpected event can happen at any time. And then we lie on the sickbed, reflecting on life and regretting not having used that precious time. Ages 20, 30, 40, or 50 are all worth considering. But don't let them steal the precious present. You can only live each moment once and only once, so don't waste it. Person 3. Being busy is just an excuse. Seneca says you should not consider a person to have lived long just because they have gray hair and wrinkles. That person has not lived long, just existed long. We all have desires in life. A stable job, a nice house, passionate relationships, or expensive vacations. But most of us can't achieve them because we are stuck with the 4 words: food, clothing, shelter, money, or the relationships we maintain for fear of loneliness. You're just trying to hold on to everything, but every time a storm passes, another comes. Then, you justify that you don't have enough time for new hobbies. Being busy is always an excuse. If you don't know what you like or want, ask yourself these questions. What could I do if I had more time? Or if I could change one thing about myself, what would it be? Maybe you want to lose weight, learn a new language, read a book a week, or start exploring photography. The best way to start is to wake up early. You will find time seems to extend, giving you extra time for the plans you've long cherished. Work while others sleep, as someone said, I don't know who. The longer you wait to start changing, the more you will spend your life working to make someone else's dream a reality. And your dream remains just a dream. 4. Stop hesitating and give up procrastination. We learn from Seneca that, while wasting time hesitating and procrastinating, life still goes on. Procrastination occurs when there is a conflict between short-term enjoyment, like surfing the web, and long-term commitments, like learning a new skill. In psychology, this is called time inconsistency. Procrastination is giving up long-term goals for the temptation of momentary satisfaction. Even though the result of successful weight loss is wonderful, the brain still prefers fatty chocolate cakes over chicken breast and mashed potatoes. However, Seneca has given us a very effective and simple method to combat this: premeditatio malorum. The idea behind it is simple. Ask yourself before doing something about the possible outcomes. By acknowledging the pleasure beforehand and then setting the time, place, and starting point, appropriately, you can overcome the allure of short-term pleasures in advance. If you prepare by scheduling anything you want to accomplish, the likelihood of you doing it will be 2 to 3 times higher. Creating your own rewards. According to Seneca, procrastination is the greatest waste of life. It steals each day as it comes and denies us the present by promising the future. The biggest obstacle to life is expectation. Procrastination is strongest when we are about to begin a task. Even if you have eliminated all distractions and are ready to sit down at 8 a.m. as planned, your brain still finds the appeal of finding an excuse to do something easier very strong. The most uncomfortable challenge is finding a way to make that start smoother. The key here is expectation. It's what we crave when we want to procrastinate, the gap between short-term pleasure and a long-term reward. The reason starting is always so hard is that it has no immediate reward. You wake up to study at 5 a.m., but its reward waits a whole year. However, if you can create an immediate reward for yourself, you motivate yourself to start. For example, if you postpone watching a movie until after finishing a report, then watching the movie is no longer an obstacle, but a reward for completing your work, an immediate reward. As we conclude our journey through Seneca's profound insights on the Stoic path, I encourage each of you to reflect on how these principles can be woven into the fabric of your daily life. Remember, the journey towards personal growth and happiness is ongoing, and the Stoic wisdom we've explored today can be a powerful guide. Take a moment to ask yourself, how can I apply Seneca's teachings to become more resilient, more focused, and more at peace with the world around me? Your journey towards an unshakable mind begins with these small yet significant steps. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. How have these Stoic principles impacted your life? Your insights not only enrich our community here at Stoic in Your Life, but also inspire others to embark on their own path of Stoic wisdom. Thank you for joining me on this enlightening exploration. If you found value in our discussion, Please like, share, and subscribe to Stoic in Your Life for more content that can transform your mindset and your life. Until next time, keep striving for personal growth and happiness, the Stoic way.